This was one of the larger, more beneficial, successful mines, we'll say. It offered all kinds of benefits to the miners, like showers. This was the first building in town to have hot running water. And so that type of thing was very popular. As a matter of fact, on the weekends, when the mine was not operating, the showers were open to families.
Is that right?
And mom could bring the kids in and get cleaned up, well, once a week.
Right. Come on, Saturday was a good day.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. But so this was the dry. And then this was the original room. But as time went on and the mine got bigger, the more successful, they added on the showers, and then they added on what they call the clean clothes dry. So now the miners would come to work, they take their clean street clothes off in one room, come into here where all the dirty clothes were, and instead of lockers, I don't know if you can see it, but they would hang their clothes up in baskets, up in the ceiling.
Huh.
And you can see the whole ceiling is lined with pulleys and hooks and everything. This whole room looked like benches and a hanging garden of dirty clothes. But the trick is that when you hang them up there like that, and you keep the room at about 80 degrees, and you have these big fans blowing air around, those clothes are going to dry out and you can wear them again tomorrow. If you shoved them in a locker, that's not going to happen.
Kind of damp.
Yeah, after a couple of days, moldy too, I'm sure.
Right.
So that was a real benefit too. So it was a way of allowing the miners to change their clothes and wear them for a period of time.
Yeah.
Keep in mind again that this was a bigger mine, so they offered this. Some of the small operations, they expected you to come to work, do your job, and go home in the same clothes. And that was your problem, getting clean and that type of thing. So different mines. When you have 90 different mines operating, keep in mind those 90 different mines, some had 2, 3, 4, 5 shafts each. So there were mine shafts all over the place. But this one was one of the bigger ones, more successful. And like I said, we're real lucky it's still standing and we can share it with people today.
Did the process of getting the iron ore out change from 1867 to 1967?
Right, yeah, oh yeah.
It did.
Yeah, iron ore went through 3 basic stages, and of course it wasn't cut and dry. But it started off, what they did was they were mining iron ore from outcrops. So these rock outcrops that showed up on the surface were very rich iron ore. And the mining process was pretty straightforward. Just break it up and you ship it down to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, where the steel mills were. That's the only customer, right? Steel mills, right? And so that was how it worked. But once you removed that outcrop, well, now you got to start digging. And pretty soon, these outcrops turned into pits, small pits, but pits. And that was a problem after a while, because the bigger the pit, the more material you had to remove that was not iron ore. You're doing a lot of work and not getting paid.
Yeah.
So they changed their method and they started going underground themselves to follow the ore. So what happened was they started sinking a shaft, many shafts. And from the shaft, you would tunnel into the ore body and remove the material. And that was the prevalent way of mining for, gosh, almost 100 years. And then in the mid-50s, underground mining just became very expensive. It's very labor intensive. It's not a high productivity. You're limited to a tunnel, getting the material out. So luckily at the same time, they developed some technology for using what's called low-grade iron ore. It's not a very good material, but there's a lot more of it. So you could actually mine it with big open pits. So they use these big giant trucks and bulldozers and shovels and so forth, and they can still produce the kind of iron ore by processing it, and they make it into what's called taconite pellets, or small iron ore pellets. But they are also 70% iron, and the steel companies can use that.
Yeah.